It's one of the oldest and most celebrated culinary ingredients, recommended by nutritionists, scientists and chefs the world over.
Olive oil should be the main source of fat in a healthy diet.
It tastes good. And there are very few things in life that are good for you and actually taste good.
But how do we know it's good for us? This is the story of how, over the last 30 years, scientists around the world have begun to prove how important olive oil is in keeping us healthy.
What you can say from the data that we've seen is olive oil and extra virgin olive oil certainly have a health benefit.
As of today, the only vegetable fat and the only food in general proven in humans to be healthy is olive oil.
In Madrid, delegates from across the globe are gathering for a very special World Congress to debate the future of one of nature's greatest food products. Among the global businesses and government agencies, a panel of world-leading scientists has been assembled to reveal their latest findings into olive oil and health.
I'm in Madrid for the Olive Oil World Congress, which brings together several researchers and experts and politicians from all over the world to discuss olive oil.
The Congress is the most high-profile event to celebrate a wealth of scientific research that began when the Mediterranean diet was first identified shortly after the Second World War.
It might be interesting to people to know that the Mediterranean diet scientifically is the diet in use in southern Italy at the end of the 50s when Dr. Ansel Keys came from the United States. He stayed there. He realized that people were not dying from cardiovascular disease, which was very different from what was happening in Minnesota. And he started to think, or investigating why. Why was that?
In those countries, the cardiovascular diseases rate was lower, the rate of cholesterol level was lower, but the good cholesterol was higher.
The typical Mediterranean diet is a diet of poverty, of very little red meat, very little animal fat, lots of vegetable, lots of legumes. So it's a whole lifestyle out of which we isolated the Mediterranean diet, which has been named the best diet in the world for several years in a row.
And the key ingredient of this diet remains olive oil.
Olive oil is a cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet. You'll find it in all of these countries, and it's used very extensively. It's pretty much one of the only, fats that are used in our cooking in those regions.
Extra virgin olive oil is quite literally the juice of an olive. And especially in Italy, it's used very much as a condiment. It's a finishing product that you add to at the end of your cooking process just to elevate the flavors of the food. When I first joined this business 24 years ago, we carried out some consumer research. So what was very interesting is that you asked consumers, is olive oil healthy? And the answer was yes. And then you said, why? And they went, don't know.
It wasn't until the early 2000s that the first major international scientific trial into olive oil's health benefits took place.
We developed the largest nutritional trial ever conducted in Europe. That is the PREDIMED. We started in 2003, and we have been working in PREDIMED now for more than 20 years.
PREDIMED was the first major study to use nutritional elements of the Mediterranean diet as supplements to the diets of ordinary people over an extended trial period.
We included 7,500 participants in the PREDIMED, and a third of them received 15 liters of extra virgin olive oil every 3 months. So you can understand the logistics. We were shipping tons of olive oil every week to our participants, and this study lasted 10 years of intervention.
The first findings from the PREDIMED trial were published in 2013, and they were remarkable.
We saw a substantial reduction in myocardial infarction, stroke, and premature cardiovascular death. And also we saw, particularly with extra virgin olive oil, a strong reduction, 40% in type 2 diabetes.
Although some of Predimed's methods were contentious, being able to study a large cohort for such a long time enabled scientists to look at olive oil's impact on combating other degenerative conditions with impressive results.
Very particularly, neurodegenerative mortality related to dementia and Parkinson's disease. But also cancer mortality, cardiovascular mortality went down just by replacing other sources of fat by olive oil. So we merged and pooled all this extensive body of evidence in that meta-analysis, and we found sufficient evidence to say now that olive oil is able to bring down the rates of total mortality, premature mortality is very important, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease.
With Predimed and other subsequent studies providing proof of olive oil's unique role in combating major illnesses, scientists now look to focus on how it worked, specifically on a range of nutrients abundant in extra virgin olive oil called polyphenols.
Polyphenols is one of the compounds that make the huge difference of olive oil to the other vegetable oils. And the polyphenol make the olive oil unique.
Polyphenols stay in olive oil, they degrade over time, but they stay in olive oil precisely because olive oil is obtained by cold pressure.
Their belief was that polyphenols could combat the effects of oxidizing molecules within the body called free radicals that cause illness and aging. But further research proved otherwise.
So we investigated its antioxidant actions, and then we realized that all this antioxidant myth is what it is, a myth, even though people still believe that antioxidants remove free radicals in the body. We wasted, quote-unquote, wasted some years thinking that they were removing free radicals in humans. And that does not apply to any polyphenol, neither cocoa, nor red wine, or tea, or whatever you can think of.
As their understanding changed, scientists now focused on one specific polyphenol, a natural anti-inflammatory called oleocanthal.
Olive oil contains naturally a compound called oleocanthal, and this replicates exactly the effect of ibuprofen.
Inflammation in general is a really important and natural response of the body when it comes to injury or if it's trying to fight infection. So you'll probably have seen your body causing inflammation if you cut yourself, and you'll have like, swollen or red rash around the wound. Or if you're sick and you'll mount a fever, for example, that heat that the body's producing is there to help fight pathogens or to help us heal. But if we have chronic low-grade inflammation, sometimes we can't really feel this because it's inside us, that's when problems can actually arise.
Low-grade inflammation is now known to be the basis for many degenerative illnesses, from heart disease to cancer.
A lot of diseases are related to inflammation. One of the ones that's most common is possibly things like arthritis and joint pains.
Autoimmune conditions are often linked to inflammation. Anything that ends in an itis, is usually a sign of inflammation.
But low-grade inflammation is very difficult to detect. So it's also why it's very difficult to treat, and this is why it's also very difficult to prove that any intervention, such as polyphenols or any other kind of food, of diet, of exercise, or whatever, has an effect.
But how exactly olive oil's unique combination of polyphenols affects us is yet to be fully understood.
What I think as a pharmacologist by training is that we should abandon the notion of one molecule doing exactly one thing with no side effects. So likely they have a wide range of action that we're still studying.
But I don't like to think in like a magic molecule, both from a design point of view or from an evolution point of view.
My dream for future research is that all polyphenol researchers come together with the help of these new technologies, artificial intelligence, data mining, and put all their data together to find out why polyphenols are healthy, and finally conclude on how much and which kind of polyphenols are the best for your health.
Just as when the Mediterranean diet was first identified, scientists today remain fascinated by the many health properties of this miracle ingredient.
every time they made studies to show and to know about the different effects of olive oil, they discover any more possibilities and more positive effects of these products.
Every single year, something is discovered new that is good for your health. Now we have another compound that being studied, that is the squalene. Olive oil is very rich in squalene because this hydrocarbon compound was first discovered in the liver of the sharks. It seems very strange that we have a compound that is in the liver of the sharks and also in olive oil. But this squalene is being studied now, and they have many, many health properties. In particular, people who are suffering cancer, when they have a treatment with the chemotherapy, using a supplementation of squalene, either in olive oil or in pills, will help a lot. Not only to concentrate the effect of the chemotherapy on the tumor cells, but also, relieving a little bit the side effects of the chemotherapy.
Whilst science continues to find new properties hidden in olive oil's chemistry, what's certain is that consuming it has a uniquely positive impact on our health.
If you are concerned about your health, the best thing is to substitute all the fat intake or oil intake to olive oil.
Olive oil should be the main source of fat in a healthy diet because it's natural fruit juice, it's tasty, it's healthy, and it's sustainable.
It is very difficult to compete with nature. The olive trees have resisted for millennia in a weather like Southern Europe and Northern Africa. You have adverse weather for growing like a forest of olive trees. So they have a lot of minor components that are very active against infections of the tree, against oxidation, all this. So we take advantage of all these properties when we consume olive oil.